with great effort today. We just didn't have the attention to detail that we need to win a game of this magnitude. Give Virginia a ton of credit. They were great. They blocked 9 shots. Again, it's really tough for us to score in the paint against them. But our guys were warriors and tried to gut it out. We just didn't have enough. But it was a NCAA tournament type game, so hopefully it'll help prepare us for moving forward next week.
Okay, questions for the players first. Raise your hand. Let's get the 2 mics to you. Let us know who you are and who you're with. First question, right here, middle of the room.
Thomas Hughes, Virginia Tech on SI. This is a question for either of you. Ugonna Nyenzo finished with 8 blocks. What made him so formidable to deal with in the post today?
I say his length. That's what he's been doing all his life. It was just we had to try to finish over guys. We couldn't finish over him. He did his part for his team, and he just came up short.
Yeah, what Paul said, just his length, just his presence in the paint. The way he can just be very active around the rim, just blocking shots, and just being a defensive presence for them. Really just deter us from being more efficient on offense. We're capable to get to the rim. We wanted to finish through contact, and it was just pretty much that was our game plan. But when we have somebody like that who's very active, very disciplined, who doesn't really, sell for shot fakes and anything like that, but has great timing to block shots, it just comes really difficult.
Fourth row.
The previous 2 matchups versus Virginia were blowouts. This one was a lot closer. What was the difference here?
We had I feel like we played them, like I said, we played them twice. We know what to do. We put guys in situations and pick on the matchups. And, I think this game we was hitting more shots, honestly.
I think it's just effort. I think the coaches did a really good job of creating a good game plan, do a really good job of knowing, just be aware of their plays and everything like that. But it just all depends on how we want to, exceed their energy, be able to dive for loose balls, win the 50-50 balls, chasing down long rebounds, and being able to not let, our offense, dictate how we play on defense. We didn't let that happen today because we know we're playing for something bigger. That's something that we should have done earlier. But we know that effort kind of covered up a lot of those things. And everything that we, do it for 100%, even if we make our mistakes, we can make up for it.
Other questions for the players? Okay, guys, thanks. You can head back to the locker room. Okay, questions for Coach.
Bob Holliday, WRL. Will, what did you see today that gives you encouragement for next week?
I thought we played with an edge today. I thought we played with better effort. We didn't have very good attention to detail. We gave up 2 loose balls in the first half that led to 5 points. We gave up the free throw block out late in the game, which didn't give us a chance at a comeback. So, and we squatted on 4 of their 3-point shots. That stuff bites you when you play a team as good as Virginia. And we haven't played with this level of effort all the time this year. So it's tough to correct all the details, and it's tough to correct all the little things when you're coaching effort and trying to get effort from guys. And so hopefully this will be a point where we can take this film and say this is the effort that we need, and now we can coach some of the details and get better at the details.
Reminder, both locker rooms are open. They'll remain open until 2:58. Next question, middle of the room.
Frank Maloney, who's talking on 910. First half, you came out with what seemed like a brilliant game plan, and you had Virginia on their heels a little bit. Talk about what that mindset was.
Well, I'd hope we'd try something different after getting our brains beat in twice. So, we tried. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of time. We had a better idea of what to do, and it's just we couldn't always we couldn't always get into what we wanted to. But I thought we got the lead to 6 a couple times in the first half, and then we wasted some possessions. We took a bunch of mid-range jump shots, a bunch of fadeaways. Like we got bottled up, which is what their defense does. And so that really bothered us and stunted us from being able, look, if we were going to win this game, we needed to stretch the lead, spread our legs a little bit, and sprint, and then make them try to catch us from behind. And we were never able to do that enough. But look, they've got a great team, we just Lewis has killed us every game from 3. The only difference is he didn't make his first one like he usually does. But he's killed us every game from 3, and weren't able to stretch it when we kind of, we were ready to play, and we couldn't stretch the lead enough.
Second row right in front of us.
Coach David Glenn from the North Carolina Sports Network. Those other 2 games were quite a while ago. This one just happened. The other 2 were blowouts. This was in the final minute. Does that improvement reflect what you've seen in practice in recent weeks compared to what you saw 2 months ago?
Well, we played him the second time we played him was a couple weeks ago. It seemed like a month ago. Look, we're not into moral victories. Look, you either get the job done or you don't, and we didn't get the job done today. The reality is we should have played more like this the first 2 games, and we didn't, and that's why we were in. That's why we're in this. That's why we were in this position. That's why we were the 7th seed. That's the reality of it, and we didn't get the job done today. And we shouldn't have gotten beat like we did the first 2 times either.
Middle of the room to our left.
Connor Vandermark, technician. Will, y'all kept Virginia contained for most of the first half, didn't let them go on too many runs, held the lead for the majority of the first half. In the second half, they shot out on a 10-0 run. What did they change in the second half to be more effective offensively?
Well, I think, first off, at the end of the first half, to play as well as we did, and we were down 1 at half, to give up the off-the-bounce 3 there at the end, that was a killer. When you play like that, and we're trying to get some, we're trying to go from like hoping we could beat them to like some belief, and we had a little bit more belief at halftime, but it'd been better if we had the lead. Like, you need the lead, and the start to the second half, it's been our problem most of the year. We just can't get stops to start the second half. We got fouled on our first possession. We made 1 of 2 free throws, I believe. And then, they shot, I think they were like 8 of 12 to start the half, or they shot 60 some odd %. And when the defense isn't in front of our bench and the staff and our guys, and we can't communicate the defensive stuff, it's very difficult for us. We just don't talk enough. We don't communicate enough. We don't fly around enough. In the second half, the defense is away from our bench, and we've really, really struggled. So that's something that we're going to practice and try to continue to get better at. But, Virginia just put their head down, started driving the ball and creating rotation and kicking it out for open threes, which is what they do.
Third row.
Yeah. Shelby Swanson with the News and Observer. Just a lot of talk with you and potential position at LSU. Just wanted to see if anybody from that campus reached out to you and just give you an opportunity to speak on that.
No, is the job open there? Huh? No? So why would, listen, let me be very clear. I'm excited at NC State. I was hired at NC State to do a job. This wasn't going to take 1 year. I've already met with our administration about next year and some of the changes that we need to make and some of the things that we need to do to put this program where it deserves long term. So I'm not I'm not on social media. I'm not into gossip. I'm not into any of that sort of stuff. But look, we're going to win, and we're going to win big at NC State, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do moving forward, and we have the resources we need. We have what we need, and it's on me and my staff to get the job done. And look, this year hadn't gone exactly how we wanted it to, but we're going to rally, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to have a team next year that's ready to roll.
Front row.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Paul McNeil, not only in this game, almost 30 points, but he's come up big for you throughout the season, and there's been a lot of moments here at the tournament where he's come up big. Just what you've seen from him and the leadership and the hopes of next week for you and what he can do for you.
Well, he's been shooting it well all year. I think he's close to the single-season three-point record for us. So, I think that he's been solid for us, and we're going to need him. We're going to certainly need him next week at the NCAA tournament.
Again, front row.
Stephen Arthur, Virginia Tech television coach. This is your first season at NC State. How do you assess your coaching tenure in the ACC so far?
I mean, look, we want to be better. We're not as good as we want to be. So, I haven't done as good a job as I need to do with our team. And, we're going to get that corrected. We know we're eyes wide open. We understand, where our positives are, where our negatives are, where our strengths are, and where our weaknesses are. And we're going to go attack those this offseason and get ready and be a little bit closer to where we want to be.
Last question.
Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. With the regular season and now the conference tournament behind you, what did you learn about the ACC that maybe is different than places you've coached before, looking in the immediate rear view?
Look, we'll do an autopsy when the season's over. I mean, we have some ideas of, look, we got to, there's some personnel things in the ACC we got to get right. And so some of the stuff that's maybe worked some other places positionally, we need to have some different type of personnel. So we understand. Our eyes are wide open. We know where it sounds like my team. We know where we made our. We know where we need to improve. Let's put it that way.
Thanks, Coach.
Oh, Charlie, you're locked out. Fired up for the Cowboys. I watched the game last night.
You answered that perfectly with the base. You know that. You were rapping your answer. Thanks, Coach.